and how difficult it is and how terrible it is, or we can focus on the solution. Now, what is the solution? The solution is to realize that this is a teaching. The Dharma is not just in the books, not just in the pecha, which is a Tibetan word for the text. It's a living, breathing thing. That's why it came from an oral tradition, and then it was written down. Later, starting with the Pali text, and then eventually it had to be written down so that it would not be lost or forgotten. But originally it was all oral, and that's why in the Tibetan tradition, where we give the empowerment, it's all oral. And when we give the lung, or the reading of the text, that's also oral. And when teacher gives teaching from Kanjur or Tanjur, that's oral teaching. And we should always be able to go back to the text. Okay, so if we want to talk about the original text, before Pali, there was a Sanskrit text. Okay, and then there's Southern Buddhism, the Theravada school, which I've studied for many years, Vipassana and Shamatha, and Metta Bhavana, walking and sitting meditation, Anapanasati, and Satipatthana. I've also studied the Tripitaka and the Vinaya Pitaka, and also the Majjhima Nikaya, and also the Vinaya Sutta Pitaka, and okay, there is one part of the text of Tripitaka that talks about the psychology of Buddhism. I think it is called Abhidhamma. Yes, Abhidhamma. And that is the teaching which comes closest to Zopachenpo. So within Theravada school, they have what is called Metta Bhavana. So Metta Bhavana means radiating love and compassion. Metta, which means love, loving kindness, and Karuna, which means compassion. So both of those are part of the visualization technique and the feeling that the meditator feels when they're doing Metta Bhavana meditation. So if we were, as belonging to another school, to say, oh, you know, those Theravadas, they don't have this concept of bodhicitta. That's not true. They have it. They just have another word for it. They have compassion. They have loving kindness, metta and karuna. So within the Abhidhamma, there are sections which we could say are Zopachenpo, if we have the correct understanding. And then there's also Samucheda, Pratitya Samucheda, Pratitya Samucheda, Pratitya Samupada, Pratitya Samupada, which means interconnectedness. Now we have this also in Tibetan Buddhism, interconnectedness. That means that all living beings are interconnected. Pratitya Samupada. Okay, that's a difficult word to say in Pali, but I've chanted in Pali at the International Tripitaka Chanting Ceremony, which is where I met my two amazing Arhat Thai teachers, Prasamdet Nayan Sambara Sangaraj, and I've also studied with Ajahn Tong at Wat Sri Cham Tong, and I believe he's another Arhat, just like Ajahn Chah. Now you might say, oh, well, they're Arhats, and so what? They're not Bodhisattvas. Well, that's a very limited way of looking at that. They're Arhats because that's the level that their goal is. And then if our level is to try to be a bodhisattva one day after many lifetimes, then we go for that. It doesn't make one better than one worse. That's not the right attitude. We should never discount either another school or another tradition, another lineage masters. Never. I take that very seriously. We don't say, oh, that's a lower school and we are higher school. If we start having those attachments again, then we'll definitely cause suffering for ourselves and suffering for others. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to make the either mentally or verbally between Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, and Mantrayana, and Sutrayana, and Zopa Jinpo. So we don't say, oh, I should really scramble, I should really rush for those higher teachings. No, because you don't eat fruit until it's ripened. Otherwise you get sick. That's the example I can give. We will get to the level that we want to get to at the right time. Everything in the right time, not beforehand. So this same thing as with the reincarnation process. So what three factors are there? The person who is going to be reincarnated makes a wish that they be reincarnated in whatever form, whatever time, and whatever place that benefits all living beings, all sentient beings. So does that mean that if I pass away and I have this wonderful wish to benefit everyone, all living beings, and then I won't be reborn as a woman? No, I definitely could. I could say I would consider that a compliment if it's appropriate. If I'm supposed to be born in the female body and that's beneficial to all sentient beings, and then that's going to happen because I formed that wish before I left my body. Whatever time, whatever place, whatever form. So form could be anything. Any kind of human being. And then place could be anywhere. And also time could be any time. So we make this wish before Rinpoche or Tulku passes away, that we form this wish in our mind right before we separate the consciousness from the body and enter into the bardo, the in-between state of 49 days. So there are two small practices which I like to do. I like to take the first clean portion, which means nobody's eaten from it yet, or you haven't smelled it, or you haven't touched it, and offer that. You can visualize in your mind all those people who don't have food. Or, according to whatever your faith is, you can offer that food to your teacher. People during the time of the Buddha offered food to the Buddha in his bowl. That's called alms round. And then in exchange, he offered them teachings at their own level. Whichever level they were at, he was able to see that and offer them the correct teachings. So you could even picture someone in your mind when you make that mental offering of the food, the first clean portion of the food or drink, whichever is delicious to you, that's your favorite. You just take a little bit of it and put it in a dish and put it up on your offering area. Now, whether you have the picture of Christ or Muhammad or Abraham or whoever is your teacher, the Buddha or the Bodhisattva or your root guru, Hindus have a practice which they call bhakti yoga, and so therefore they make some small offering to their teacher who has passed away, to their picture. They remember the kindness of that teacher. You could even think of your relative that has passed away and remember all the wonderful, kind things that it did for you. And you could take that first clean offering of drink and food that you think is delicious for you. That's the Attam word there. You're the one offering, so it should be the best that you think it is, you know, your favorite. That makes it more meaningful. So you're offering that food a little bit, doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. You offer that and you think, may all the sentient beings around the world who don't have food be able to receive this. You just mentally feel that and stay with that for a moment, so that they may be able to eat. They may not be hungry and suffering. There's so many starving people around the world. So you just take a moment to think about them. Or you take a moment to think about those people who have been so kind, so compassionate, so loving to you. And you offer that little piece of food or that small amount of delicious drink. Before anyone touches it or smells it or eats it or drinks it, then you offer just a little bit. And it's not that they are actually receiving that. You're doing it in order to generate merit. Merit means that you are doing something positive, anything. You you help an old person across the street, that's merit. You are kind to a sick person or a disabled person, that's merit. You're good to your mom or your dad, that's merit. Good to your relatives, that's merit. You are, instead of reacting in a negative way to someone who's hateful towards you, instead you try to be compassionate and merciful towards them, and you love them, and you're kind to them, and you open your heart, and you try to give back kindness in exchange for their hatred or their bad words or bad actions towards you. Those are the people that are going to be your teachers, because without them, you don't get tested. You don't get to see whether you have grown in your practice of spirituality or not. You'll just say, oh, well, you know, I'm at this level, but you won't know you're at that level until you're truly tested. It's no good to just keep thinking that I'm practicing a spiritual path, and then in the face of a frustrating situation, you just explode. That means, well, sorry, try again. But we're only human. We're not Buddhas and Bodhisattvas yet. We're not saints and we're not angels. So of course we're going to make mistakes, but we try to keep those to a minimum. There's a saying, when it comes to my faults, I will examine them as finely as I examine the grains of sand on the banks of the Ganges River. So you can think of grains of sand on any river. It doesn't have to be the banks of the Ganges River in India. That's a major river. It could be the Yangtze, could be anywhere. You think of the fine grains of sand. So that's how you want to examine your faults. And try not to do those again. And then, when you are seeing someone doing something good, you can express joy and support for that person. You can say, oh, that is so wonderful. That's such a blessing. I'm so happy that you helped a poor person, or you helped a disabled person, or you volunteered, or you helped animals. You share in that merit, the same as if you were doing that action yourself. Because what you're doing is you're rejoicing in the good action of others, and that is merit. So at the same time that we are accumulating merit, we also want to be transforming and purifying our karma. Well, what is karma? Karma means accumulated mistakes. Okay, so it just means we're human. Welcome to the human race. If you made a mistake, so did I, many times. So we're not going to live life without making mistakes. When we do make a mistake, we try to reflect on it, contemplate it, pray about it, and meditate on it, and not be fixated and say, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm a terrible person, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. No, that's not the purpose of thinking about it, contemplating it, reflecting on it, praying about it, and meditating on it. It's so that you can transform that experience, so that that doesn't happen again. Now, in the case of rejoicing about other people's positive actions, anything you do that's not negative is a positive action. If you're kind to your dog or your cat or whatever pet you have, that's a positive action, and you can rejoice in that. And you can say, oh, you know, I wish all those dogs and cats and pets all receive love and kindness just like I give to my pet. Because pet is also giving kindness back to you. They're giving companionship and kindness, and they love you and you love them, and that's unconditional love, because they don't have a way to express vocally, but of course they express in other ways that they love you and you love them. So it's a wonderful thing. So you can dedicate some of the merit to those who have passed away or those who are sick. In the case that we're facing global pandemic, we can dedicate the merit to those people who have passed away or who are sick with CV-19. And that's a beautiful thing. It just means that you're saying, by the virtue of this merit, may all living things in all places around the world not experience suffering of any form. So you recite that and you dedicate the merit. We call that the seal. The seal is like putting a stamp, a wax stamp on the letter, like they used to do in the back starting I think with the 1200s or the 1300s all the way to the 1600s. They use a wax seal, and we call that the Dharma seal when we dedicate the merit. At the end of any positive action we do, we say, I dedicate this merit, those words, so that all living beings will not experience suffering in any form. And that's part of the Bodhisattva path that we're taking. So we commit to being a vegetarian for life as part of the Bodhisattva path, but let's say that that's health-wise or for whatever reason not possible. So on the full moon, and then on the 15th day, which is Amitabha Day, and on the 30th day, which is Buddha Shakyamuni Day on the lunar calendar, then we can be vegetarian. So we have 3 times: full moon, 15th day on the lunar calendar, Amitabha Day, and 30th day, which is Shakyamuni Day on the lunar calendar. Could be Chinese lunar calendar, could be Bhutanese, could be any Buddhist country, or it could be also the Western lunar calendar. It doesn't have to be the Buddhist lunar calendar. You just know that check your app to see that it's a full moon, or the 15th would be the half moon, so the 30th would be the full moon. So, just give a little wave. So, we're talking about the days that we're going to recite. On the 15th day of the lunar month, we would say Om Ami Dewa Hri. Now that's the Amitabha mantra. Amitabha is the Buddha of compassion. And Om Ami Dewa, Om Mani Padme Hung Hri is Chenrezig or Guan Yin or Kwanteam Buddha or Om Mani Padme Hum. So there are different ways according to what country and what language and what dialect you speak. But you don't have to recite in Tibetan. We don't have to be fixated that this is the only thing we can do. No, according to whichever practice of Buddhism you practice, then you recite in your own dialect or language or mantra that you use for your practice. So we've covered China, which is Namo Guan Suyen Pusa and Namo Amitofo. On the 15th we say Namo Amitofo, and on the 30th we would say Namo Guan Suyen Pusa. We could say Namo Ai Da Pha on the 15th day for Vietnamese temples. We could say Namo Quan Te Am Buddha, and that is for the Bodhisattva of compassion for the Vietnamese people on the 30th day. So I'm giving these vows live twice a month. And why am I giving them live? Because, you know, nothing is static and nothing is permanent. So that means I could come up with something completely different to say on the next time that we're live. I wasn't live with you yesterday because I wasn't feeling well, and I apologize for that. It was Amitabha Day, and I missed it, so I deeply apologize for that, and I promise it will hopefully not happen again. So, if you have any questions, please feel free, as I said, in Global Buddhist Sangha, or you can contact me in Vajrayana with a what's that line? Two lines, parenthesis, maybe parenthesis, around Tibet, the word Tibetan, and last word Buddhism, and that is a non-sectarian or Rime group. But I'll also, in the Global Buddhist Sangha, that covers all kinds of Buddhism, both the Southern School of Buddhism and the Northern School of Buddhism. So we have people from Thailand, Theravada Buddhism, and we also have Chinese Buddhism, and we also discuss Zen Buddhism. So we have Chan Buddhism and we have Zen Buddhism. So I've tried to cover the practices that you know, I hope are beneficial, and I try to explain things as clearly as possible, and then as in a more easy to understand, easy to comprehend for everyone way of explaining things. So we should never think in terms of that is too high for me. Bodhisattva vow is too high or too heavy for me. No, everybody can do it. If you have the right intention and the right motivation, you have enough merit and you purified enough karma, and then you'll be here with me live receiving these teachings. But that doesn't make people who didn't get it bad or wrong or less or greater. If we think in those terms, we're making separations in our mind, and that creates suffering for self and others, and we don't want to do that. The Buddha said really simply, tame your mind and benefit all sentient beings, or cause no harm. So that's the core of everything he said. So if we can do that, we can try to tame our mind by transforming our experiences. And you know, within each experience that we have an opportunity to see the Dharma. What does that mean? That means that it doesn't exist as an ordinary experience unless we look at it with our ordinary mind, in an ordinary way. But if we see this as an opportunity to free our mind, expand our mind, make it more spacious, and open up our heart completely, and embrace all sentient beings with love and mercy and compassion and loving kindness, unconditional love, So in that case, we'll really be honoring those who have ever given us kindness and mercy and compassion and loving kindness throughout our entire lifetime. Even in passing, if someone smiled at you, then you're giving something back to them by taking and living and keeping these Bodhisattva vows. However, there is the potential that you made a mistake. Okay, no problem. So you made a mistake, you go to your teacher and ask your teacher how to repair the Bodhisattva vow, and he's going to tell you that unless these conditions exist, you didn't break it. So the conditions are, you were completely lacking in mindfulness. You were absorbed in ignorance, and then you did something very bad, or very wrong, or very negative. So that means you just didn't make an attempt at all to practice mindfulness, just being present at the here and now. There was an astrologer who came to Guru Rinpoche, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism, and she said, I'm going to tell you your future, and I'm going to make a prediction for you. And now Guru Rinpoche was a yogi, which means a very highly realized practitioner. So he said, okay, if I want to know my present condition, why I'm in this experience, in this place, in this time, in this experience, then I'll look at my previous actions, my previous karma. If I want to know my future rebirth, and then I'll have to look at my present actions. So I don't really need an astrologer to figure out what's going to happen. Because we are in the driver's seat of whatever happens to us. We choose to be happy and make good choices and choose to be happy, or we can choose to suffer. And unfortunately, a lot of suffering comes because we just aren't realizing that we're taking actions that are going to cause us suffering. So we shouldn't fault people for that. If they're acting out of ignorance, we should forgive them and show mercy and compassion and love, unconditional love. Those are the ones who are going to be the test, the ultimate test. Am I really following the spiritual path? Well, you'll have to see. That person who cut you off on the road, are you screaming at them inside your car instead of reciting mantras while you're waiting at the stoplight? Did you have a few choice words for somebody who said something wrong to you, or you were thinking, I can't wait till I get them back? No, I hope not. You wouldn't be keeping your Bodhisattva vow that you're taking now. But you try your best, and if you make a mistake, you're human. So welcome to the human race. You made a mistake. But you try your best to look at your faults and see what they are and be honest with yourself and try to not make those same mistakes again. At least try. That's all you can do. And you try to do as many positive actions, not fabricated, and also not like a business deal where you do something only because you think you're getting something in return. Then that's not real compassion. That's not real bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means the special kind of feeling that we generate. First, we take refuge in Nandro. We can do every practice as Nandro. First, we take refuge, and let's do that together. Dizon Chanju Nimpo Maton Bar. From now until I become completely awakened. Lama Konsho Somla Chapsu Cho. I take refuge in the teacher all the way back to the time of the Buddha. Dane Zante Korwa Maton Bar. from now until all the realms of samsara are emptied out from suffering, all forms of suffering. Majir, Samchen, Konje, Pande, Dhruv. I will strive for the benefit and the bliss of all mother sentient beings. So that's what we say first when we want to start Nandro. We shouldn't go through this as a kind of like a yoga or mechanical exercise. Let's go to the gym. Let's do some prostrations. No, that's not happening. Hopefully. We're doing that at the 3 levels of body, speech, and mind. So that's very important. We're thinking, and that's at the level of the mind. Hopefully our mind is clear and our heart is open. And then we're speaking, we're saying the words, and we're understanding, we're thinking about those words that we're saying, we're not just saying them. And then we're doing the action with our body. So first we'll have thinking, and then we'll speak, and then we'll do action. So that's why we have the 3 doors, body, speech, and mind, when we do Nandro. Now second, we will do Dorji Sempa or Vajrasattva, which is purifying our karma. So we are not confessing to someone that we've made mistakes. There's no someone out there, just like there's no someone in here. There's no you, no me, no mine, and no theirs. If we have that mistaken view, then we're in trouble. Therefore, we're thinking about, okay, so we made a mistake. We're reflecting on that. We're understanding that we made a mistake. We're trying not to do it again. So we recite the word Om Ven.Thubten Samaya Manapalaya Ven.Thubten Tenopa Tritutitu Mambawa Sutokaya Mabawa Supokaya Mabawa Anuratu Mebawa Sarvasiddhi Me Priyata Sarvakama Sutame Shriyam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawa Sarvatatakata Bajrimamutta Bajrivamama Samaya Sato Ah. Now that's important. At the point when we say the syllable ah, and then we should let go, dissolve, free our mind into the natural expanse, the original state, Tathagata Garbha, Buddha mind. We can say shunyata in Sanskrit. So, that's what we say after the confession. It's like the Dharma seal when we do meritorious or good actions. We seal with the Dharma seal of dedication of merit. And that's what we should do after every positive action. Not just formally sitting meditation or reciting mantras. Any action that we're doing that's benefits sentient beings, even thinking positive, then we dedicate merit. And that's for a reason. We seal the practice with the Dharma seal of dedication of merit. Now, thirdly, first we did refuge, then we did Vajrasattva, and then we're going to generate bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, and then Vajrasattva. I deeply apologize. We generate bodhicitta by reciting the prayer again, and I'll say it again in Tibetan. Sanje chodon soje chonom la chanju bardu dani chapsu cheo dani jinso jibe sonam chir jola panjir sanje drupar so. We said that 3 times. And what is that? For as long as space remains, and as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the suffering of all beings. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. So that's what we just said in Tibetan. Sanje chodang soje chonam la chanju bardu dane chapsu jo dane chinzo jibe sonam jir dola kanje sanje drupa so. Okay, so we have generated bodhicitta. Now, the next section is Guru Yoga. So in Guru Yoga, what we're going to do is that teacher who has given us the empowerment, that teacher will be in the form of the deity, the Buddha or Bodhisattva, that has given us that the teacher is embodying at the time of the empowerment. He's planting that he or she, because there are both male and female teachers, thank goodness, both male and female Rinpoches, both male and female Gelong and Gelongma, and Kempo and Kendla. So Yeshe and Yeshla. So then, doesn't matter. We have male or female teacher, doesn't matter. I've received teachings from what are regarded as living Kandruma. A very, very powerful blessing from many living Kandruma who have passed away. Incredible blessings. So I never had this idea that, oh, this is Sayum or this is Kandruma, and then therefore this is not teacher. That's not true. The Kandruma or the Sayum, the consort, is equal to the Rinpoche or the teacher that they are practicing together with. They are at the same level of practice. So when you see Rinpoche and you see his Kandro or his Sayum, they are equal level of spiritual practice. One is not higher than the other. One is not subservient to the other. They are both equal, and they practice together without attachment. So you could receive teaching from the Sayum or the Kandro, as in Chagdatuku Kandro. You could receive teaching from her. That's no different from receiving teaching from Chagdatuku Rinpoche. Same. Kandro Seren. So I had received teaching from His Holiness Dego Chense Rinpoche's Kandro, and then I had also received the teaching from Jamyan Chinsi Choki Lodro's Kandro in what's it called? I'm trying to remember the name of the temple, Suklakang, in Denzong. Some people say Sikkim, but I say Denzong, out of honor and respect for the original people there. In Denzong we have Lepcha and Bhutia and Denzongpa. So I don't say Sikkim, I say Denzongpa. Lepcha and Bhutia, they are the formers of Denzong. So we have this mandala offering, which we have made the mudra. Let's do it again. So we make it like this. If everybody can see how to, maybe I show in a different way, how to put your fingers. And usually we put the mala like so. Yeah. What happened here? Oh, yes. Okay, so see, even I made a mistake. Okay, so you have the mandala, which is representing Mount Meru and the 4 continents. Then there's the longer version of the mandala, which is certain representations, traditional symbols of precious things, body, speech, and mind, precious things, the 5 skandhas, can also be offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisatvas, Dakas and Dakinis, Dharma protectors, and Yidam. Yidam is your personal deity. That's the one that you have heart connection to. And your Savi Lama or your root Lama or your Guru will be the one to give you that teaching. So in the Pali tradition, and then you would have, in the Pali tradition, you would have Sakyamuni Buddha would be your Yidam, because that is the founder of our tradition of Buddhism is Sakyamuni Buddha. So in Mahayana, they would have their teacher. There's Huineng, who is the sixth patriarch of the Chan school. And then, of course, there's Master Se Yun, an empty cloud, is one of my masters. And then within the Zen school, there's Dogen Sensei. Also, again, within the Chan school, you have Bodhidharma. And then within Tibetan school, we have teachers like Chandrakirti and Vimalamitra and Nagarjuna. And so those particular teachers, it doesn't matter which tradition or which lineage we came from, and those teachers are same like Buddha and Bodhisattva to us, and Dakas and Dakinis, and Yidam and Dharma protectors. So if we can visualize, if we can have this kind of samaya, as we see our teacher that gave us the empowerment or the wang, or the blessing, and that is not separate from the deity that they are offering to us. I'm offering the mandala. This is the mudra for offering the mandala. Now there's another mudra that the Buddha made when Mara was trying to give him a lot of trouble, trying to attack him. This is called Abhaya mudra. Abhaya means what the Buddha did was he was able to transform all that hatred, all that ignorance, all those negative emotions into bliss, into loving kindness, into compassion. And he was able to, with the power of his loving kindness and compassion, transform. So Abhaya mudra is like this. And you've also seen Holiness Dilgochen-se Rinpoche doing Abhaya mudra like this. Precious teacher. Jesankapa is a very precious teacher. Sakya Kunga Ningpo is also very, very precious teachers. Jetsen Milarepa, also very precious teachers. And Jimi Lingpa, all the Tirtans of the Nima school, also very precious teachers. And also within the Bon tradition, then we have precious teachers. Abhaya, it means we are taking those negative emotions and we are transforming them, all that negative emotion, all those hatred and fear and ignorance, and we are transforming it how? Not by fighting back. We can only control what we do. So what am I doing? I'm transforming the experience. Whatever comes my way, I'm transforming the negative experience into a positive experience, because ultimately I don't have control outside, I have control inside. So Abhaya mudra. Everybody see? Okay. Not different, well, a little bit different from what Dilgochen-se Rinpoche, I think he did like this. So I don't purposely try to do what he did. That's fabrication, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to fabricate, because we just want to be with reality naturally, just as it is. Abhaya mudra. Transforming all the negative into positive, overcoming that with loving kindness and compassion and mercy and joy and equanimity. So let's talk a little bit about the 5 skandhas. So we have form, we have feeling, we have sensation, we have perception, and we have mental formation. So if we were to look at for the self, we could look in those 5 skandhas, but first we would look in sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, our 5 senses. We could even look in the 3 doors for that substantial, solid self, but we wouldn't find it, neither outside the body or inside the body. The Buddha did a very special meditation, a very special, what is called in Pali, samadhi. Under that tree, he searched for the self, the source of all suffering. And he cut through with the practice of his samadhi, that strong grasping at this substantial, supposedly real, solid self, the source of all suffering for self and others. He let go, and he realized the ultimate potential that was already there, that he had practiced over countless lifetimes, not just suddenly became Buddha. That doesn't happen. Even to highly realized masters, they don't just suddenly wake up one day and become highly realized master. That is because they have practiced over countless lifetimes. So, when we make a commitment in our practice, that is a lifetime commitment. So don't become worried or frightened or upset or think that, oh my goodness, how many mantras am I going to have to do? How many prostrations? Oh my goodness, 100,000 or 200, maybe 300,000. Don't think in terms of the nundro as this is something I must complete, a task, a contract. I'm finished, now I get paid. No, not like that. It's not a job. It's a lifetime commitment. What you can do is realize that over your lifetime, you're going to do those however many prostrations you're committed to. And the purpose of the prostrations is not to prostrate to something external. It's to prostrate to your Tathagata Garbha, your Buddha nature, your potential that you're born with, that's already present. Your Buddha nature is always there. Sometimes it's clouded, just like the clouds cover the sun when it's going to rain. But then when the rain goes away, the sun comes out. Doesn't mean the sun went someplace. It's always there. Your Tathagata Garbha is just like that. Now, we should discuss a little bit about merit and karma. Now, merit, to extremely simplify things, is when you do positive actions and you dedicate the merit, and then that's like having money in the bank. However, if you do negative actions and you expect to get something positive out of that, that is like writing a bad check or having a lot of debt. You don't want that. So if you really don't want to do is do as many negative actions as you can. You want to try to do the opposite. As many positive actions as you can. And if you can't, at least you say, I rejoice in the merit or the action, all the positive actions that other people are doing. And then you share in that merit. The same as if you were doing those actions yourself. So, whenever you see someone doing something positive, you can say that. You can say, I rejoice in your merit. I congratulate you. That's fantastic. Please keep benefiting all beings. Whatever you did, that was terrific. I'm so happy. I'm overjoyed. And really mean that. Don't fabricate. I really mean what you say when you say that to people. But at the same time, please please, 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 don't say, oh, that's the most horrible human being on the face of the earth. I wish they were dead. No. That's the opposite of the Buddhist teaching. That would be trying to stop other people from driving their car. No, you can only drive your own car. You can't control others on the road, otherwise you have an accident. That's how accidents happen. People think that they can drive other people's car and theirs at the same time. It doesn't work out like that. You can only control how you react to your experience. You can experience that, whatever it is, each experience as Dharma. Or you can focus on the problem, that's solution-based thinking. You can focus on the problem, be problem-based thinking, and say to yourself, which is, I wouldn't, because it's negative self-talk. Then you might say, oh, I'm a terrible person because this person told me that, or I'm bad, or I'm doing wrong. Okay, that could be true, but that doesn't mean you say that to yourself. You say, well, you know, I made a mistake, so I'll try to be a better person. I'm a good person, I'll try to be a better person. I made a mistake, I'll try not to do it again. That's, you know, we don't want to overcomplicate things. Try to benefit all living beings. That's the essence of this Bodhisattva vow. It doesn't mean you have to fix everything, or fix everybody, or fix every situation. What you could do, when you see a situation where people are suffering, natural disaster, or let's take the present situation, the pandemic. Now, you can't do something directly about those people who are suffering in other countries, or even in this country, America, where I am, but you can visualize in your mind, and you can recite, may all beings be happy. This is the Theravada practice, by the way. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from happiness and the causes of happiness. So you see, that's no different than what we would say as a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner, or a Chinese Buddhist practitioner, or Japanese, or Vietnamese, or whatever school you belong to. Basically the core essence is the same. So I see here, Tenzin Kalsang, you said some are so angry, how can I control him? Well, you can't. Well, you can control your action, your reaction to that person. So again, we have abhaya, right? We have abhaya. What does that mean? That means I can transform the experience. We're making the sign of stopping, right? So I can control my reaction to that other person. I can transform this experience, no matter whether it's extremely negative or not. I can transform it into whatever I want to make it. If I want to react in a negative way to negative experience, then I have not changed my mind or transformed it. If I want to try my very best to be patient and compassionate and having loving kindness in my heart, no matter what happens, then I have begun to transform my mind. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take however long it takes, because you have to start from where you are. Whatever point you're at, you start there. So we're starting from today. You've taken Bodhisattva vows. If you were here online during the time I gave the Bodhisattva vows and explained them, so that means, no, you didn't suddenly become a Bodhisattva. You've taken the vows. You'll hopefully try to keep them the best you can. If you didn't keep them, and then you would do the Bodhisattva confession ceremony, the 49 Buddhas confession ceremony, and you just say, okay, so I made a mistake. I'm part of the human race, and then therefore I'll try not to do that again. That person made me upset temporarily, but that was up to me. You can only control your reaction to the other person. You can only control yourself. So, as an example, if you're on the freeway, or you're on a street, like a local street, and you're trying to get somewhere, or let's say you're on a path, a village dirt path, a village road, you're trying to get somewhere, and that person just cut right in front of you. By gosh, that's terrible. They cut me off. Okay, who's saying that? The person who's saying that is the same person who thinks that there's a substantial solid you. I mean mine. There you go. That's the source of all suffering for yourself and others. As soon as you say any one of those three words, you start your conversation, or you start your experience with that. It doesn't become better after you say that. No matter how, matter of fact, the more tightly you hold on to those concepts of I mean mine, the more you're going to suffer and cause other people to suffer. And we don't want that as Buddhists. We want to help others to experience joy and happiness and compassion and mercy and not suffer. We on the Bodhisattva path are promising to try to help all sentient beings, all living beings, not to suffer, not to experience fear, not to experience any form of suffering. So, once again, we can't directly control what happens to them, but when we see natural disaster, or when we see something terrible happening around the world, we see the image on the television or in the newspaper, don't waste that. By the fact that you are using that to generate more compassion, you dedicate the merit to that person whose image you're looking at, or people that you're looking at in that image. Now we have access to the internet, so we might not be looking at the TV news, or we might not be looking at newspaper. So when we are looking at that image, that disturbing image, sometimes we want to look away. Some people make animals suffer for no reason. They just hurt them. And then, of course, animals have no way to say, please don't do that, I'm suffering. So we can use that as an opportunity, for example, to wish that that poor animal is not suffering. And we certainly don't want to cause the animal suffering. And we wish for that person who's causing the animal suffering or the people suffering to transform their mind, but we can't force them. They are in control of their own mind, and they're making their own choice. We should understand the laws of cause and effect. So if they're doing something negative, they're definitely not going to be happy. And we want them to be happy. But we can't go around being global policemen and fix everybody. We have to fix ourselves. We have to train our mind, transform our mind, and either we see the experience as a Dharma lesson, a teaching, or we focus on the negative side and reactionary side, and we say, that person made me suffer. That person made me angry. That person made me mad. That person made me upset. That person made me frustrated. No, that's not possible. That's humanly impossible. You did that to yourself. You did that because you allowed the other person to upset you, or make you frustrated, or make you angry, or make you anything. They can't make you anything. That's impossible. We are conscious beings, and therefore we have what they call in Christianity free will. We have the choice what we're going to do, how we're going to react, what we're going to say. So we have body, speech, and mind, our three doors. And with those three doors, first comes the mind. As the ox cart follows the ox, it says in the Buddhist teaching. So therefore the action follows the thought. So I'm sure that's basically understandable to most people. So if you're thinking already that negative thought, then you're going to say something terrible, you're going to say something angry or mean-spirited, and that person's going to be defensive, and they're probably going to react back at you. They're not going to smile unless they've been practicing for numerous years. Now they'll be able to transform that and not react in an extremely negative way to you, even if you're hateful towards them. I was in a nursing home, on a personal note. I was stage 4 brain tumor. First I was in the hospital for 2 years, and then I was in 2 different nursing homes. So when I was in the hospital having chemotherapy is a type of treatment which kills the cancer, but it also kills all the healthy cells, and it really harms your body. So that's not really the point. So I asked Holiness, Dalai Lama, what should I do? I'm your student. How do I transform this terrible experience? He said, well, you can sit around feeling sorry for yourself and mope and groan and say how terrible it is and make other people also unhappy. Or you can tell jokes and you can sing songs and you can do everything within your power to transform that experience, not just for yourself, but for every person around you. And you know what? I did that. And the first person to be happy was me. When I was telling jokes, I was laughing because they were funny to me. And not everybody laughed, and I didn't care. I didn't try to irritate anyone, but I didn't expect anything. If you don't have any expectation, then therefore you can't be sad or upset if it doesn't turn out the way you want it. So when I told my jokes and sang my songs, some people sang with me, some people requested songs, some people told their own jokes, and I laughed. So it transformed that experience of having the chemotherapy, which is really difficult and very challenging, especially for a practicer. Imagine if you're not practicing anything, if you're just so caught up in suffering, the experience of this is my body and I'm terribly suffering. So what I did was I picked those people who were in the worst condition, 3 or 4 times worse than the condition I was in, and those are the people I told jokes to, and those are the people that I sang songs with. Some of them were probably not going to make it from the chemotherapy. I knew that. But if I could just for a brief moment bring them some happiness and transform that experience of suffering, it gave me enormous joy, boundless joy. When you put others before yourself, then you experience freedom and joy. The gift of the Dharma exceeds all others. That's a phrase that it says in the text. Now what does that mean? Well, gift of the Dharma, let's take gold or jewels or treasure or land or money or anything that we can think is material. And then of course those can be destroyed by fire or water or wind or whatever it is, happens, natural disaster, destroys our bank. Our money can get used up or spent, our gold could be used up or spent. Our jewels could be taken away by robbers. All of those things are impermanent and transient. But the gift of the Dharma, when you practice, okay, and let's say you've practiced many years, and then in this case, you try to benefit all sentient beings, even just forming that wish, may I benefit all sentient beings. May they all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they all be may all sentient beings be happy. Just by saying that, just by wishing that, just by thinking that, you purify lifetimes of karma. But there's the opposite of that, of course, like anything. The opposite of that is if you spend your life frivolously, chasing after material things, or getting your life used up in anger and hatred and ignorance and violence, and then it's used up. And then when you reach the end and you're in the bardo and you haven't practiced, and then as Guru Rinpoche says, you'll be like a dazed dog. You won't know which way to go, whether to go forward or backward or side to side, and you won't realize that whatever is appearing is a manifestation of your mind. So first, when you enter into the bardo, and then you would have those friends, if you've been practicing, and they would greet you in a very positive experience. And then second, you would have your teacher to guide you in the bardo. And then third, your idam, or dakas and dakinis, would appear to you, and you would separation of the consciousness from the body, which takes, the process takes 49 days. There isn't an immediate separation. And then in that case, as you were separating the consciousness from the body, you would do powa, which Ayang Rinpoche teaches, which I have taken teachings of. That's extremely important. If you haven't realized a very high level before the end of your life, powa will become very important for you. Either your teacher can do powa for you, or you, if you realize that higher level of experience as a practicer, and that you could do powa for other people. You should receive the powa teaching from a qualified master, such as Sacha Trichin Gomong Rinpoche, the head of the Sakya lineage. I received it from him, and I also received the teaching from Chabje Choge Trichin Rinpoche of the Sakya lineage as well, who is the teacher of Sakya Trizin. I felt drawn to both of them. I didn't say, oh, they're Sakya and I'm Nima, or I'm Kagyu and they're Nima, or I'm Gelu and they're not. I can appreciate, I can practice any one of the traditions, the same as His Holiness Dalai Lama can wear the hat of any tradition and give the teaching of any tradition. He's a Rime non-sectarian. That means that he's really practicing Sopa Chenpo. There's no separations. The only limitation of bodhicitta is within the confines of your mind. However far you can expand your mind, and then you'll be able to manifest that loving kindness and compassion to every being in every realm, and they be freed from all suffering of any kind. So this is a little practice that I do, personal practice, and you could try it as well. It's what I started out with before I took the first time Bodhisattva Vows. So what you want to do is you want to picture the 8 hot hells. Now in the 8 hot hells, there is molten fire, melted metal, molten lava, which is being poured, and there's also fire, and there are chains to hold that person in place in the 8 hot hells. Now then you have the 8 cold hells, where you're freezing, and it is called the bone-shattering freezing. So you're in those 8 cold hells, and that's caused by people who have a cold, unfeeling, uncaring personality towards those other people. So you would either have the hot personality where you hate and your ignorance and fear and then your violence, or you would have the cold personality. Then of course we have the preta. Preta is like a type of being which is experiencing a very severe suffering. Then we have the hungry ghost. Now hungry ghost would love to eat something, but the only way they can eat is with the sur. So the pretas are able to enjoy the water offerings. We can do water offering for them. Within the Mahayana Chinese tradition, there's a special sutra about doing water offering and for those hungry ghosts and for those preta. It's an extensive practice which I have done, both in Tibetan tradition and in Chinese tradition. So getting back to the hungry ghost, they have very tiny throat, very small throat, very big belly, and they have very big mouth. So then what happens? Of course, they can get into the mouth something, but they can't enjoy it because they have tiny throat. And then it gets to the stomach, big stomach, so then that means doesn't really make a difference how much goes in there. Then the stomach is too big, so it's never satisfied. So that comes, hungry ghost comes from jealousy. Very tight, holding on to that, grasping at that substantial self-solid nature, and that you would become hungry ghost. And then there are the animal realm, and those sentient beings in the animal realm, they got there because of their karma, and they didn't have enough merit. So then they were born as animal, and then that means they can't say anything. They very much wish to say something, that please don't kill me for your food, don't make me suffer. Like those poor animals that you see in the World Wildlife Fund who are being poached, or AASPCA, and they're being beaten or tortured by their owners, those pets. And they can't say anything. They wish they could. They wish they could cry out. And there are cases where pigs make a sound. Before they're killed, they cry out, they scream out. If you're in tune enough to notice that, and then you realize what they're trying to express. Even with cows, people say, oh, what's a cow? You know, they're nothing. No, of course, when they're going to the slaughter, they see the cow in front of them, and there are cases where cows have actually teared up in their eyes. And they realize they're going to die. They see that cow in front of them being butchered. The saw is going, and the cow is cut. And they see that, and they might try to escape, but they can't. They're in a very confined space with wooden gates on both sides of them, and therefore there's no way for them to go. We really don't want that to happen to us. And then there are chickens. Of course, they have brain, very tiny brain, but they still understand. Based on what a person told me who grew up with chickens, he said he observed this very large bird, which is called hawk, H-A-W-K. And it's soaring in the sky, and it wants to eat those chickens. So when those chickens saw that hawk flying over above their heads, and they made special sound to notify other chickens that, oh my goodness, that terrible thing is there, we better get away, run as fast as we can. And so he was a small boy. This was in Tibet. So he didn't do it on purpose, but he thought it was kind of interesting and to experience and observe. So he made that sound, which that large bird made. So then all of those little chickens would run away from him. He wasn't doing it to be cruel, but he was a young fellow. And so therefore, after that, he learned, oh, don't do that, because you'll make them suffer. And they have that fear, and they know what's going to happen. And when they hear that sound, that large bird will come down and try to eat them, or peck on them, or make them suffer. And they don't want that. So better not do that to them. All the sentient beings, at some level, experience suffering. Even if we were to go to the very smallest insects, or we were to go to the earthworms, of course, they have sensation. They have skin, so they have sensation. They have feeling. So therefore, when they're cold, they feel cold. When they're hot, they might burn up in the sun. I've seen those on the sidewalk, worms that have burnt up because they didn't know how to get out of the sun. There was nothing they could do. Of course, they don't want to experience that suffering, but they do. And we should really think about that. On a positive note, there were some young monks that were going with these wild dogs at Bodh Gaya. And their idea was they would take some food and put it into their pocket. And then they would get those little puppies to play with them, because they are small monks and they don't know. They're still young, very small. That, oh, I want, those puppies to play with me, and I want to have fun. I want to have somebody to play with. So they would take those little puppies and go around the stupa. Of course, those little boys, the little monks, didn't have any idea that I want to bring those puppies to enlightenment. But the very fact that they made that connection, I went back and asked to their Kempo, I asked to their Lama, I asked to their Rinpoche, and what happened with these young monks? All of those young monks progressed faster than their classmates. There were only 5 or 6 of them, maybe even 7, I don't remember. But I remember their names, and I talked to them. So they became great students, and later became great teachers. And that happened by accident. They weren't intending to do connection. I'm going to liberate all sentient beings. I'm going to do this, so therefore the puppies won't suffer. They just wanted somebody to play with, because they're small monks, and so they have kids' idea. And yet they became great teachers. And because those little puppies went around the stupa, they got blessing. They circumambulate the holy place, so they got blessing. They don't know they're getting blessing, but they did it because they want to follow the food. That doesn't matter. They still got blessing. So imagine, if that happened by accident, what can we do on purpose? What positive actions can we make in our mind? What's our potential to do good? What can we do? What are the limitations? Limitations only occurs in our own mind. And if you look at the pictures that I have online, you'll see me in a wheelchair. When I was in the nursing home, I was in a wheelchair. But I didn't think about that. I went to each room of patients who were very, very sick, and I gave them spiritual counseling. Even there were times when I felt horrible. I was really not feeling well at all. But I tried to put the other people before myself. And that brought me great joy. So by putting others before oneself, you'll experience great, boundless joy. Indescribable joy by placing others before oneself. So I experienced that. I was in the nursing home, I had several medical problems. That's why I was there. But then I saw those other patients who were much more severe condition than I was. Some were even close to passing away. I just had dinner. Passing away. But I went to them, and I didn't try to say, I'm a Buddhist monk and you should do this or you should do that. I just listened to them and tried to be present with them, to help them and benefit them in any way, whatever religion they were, that I could. And so I tried to be supportive and positive and be with them during that transition time. I was with them. So you can only do what you can do. But if we focus on ourselves all the time, we might miss the opportunity to benefit all sentient beings. And because we have taken the Bodhisattva vows and we are on the Bodhisattva path, it means that we are committed to putting others' needs, other sentient beings, all sentient beings before ourselves. We even say, may all the mother sentient beings become enlightened before me. And then after, I will go to enlightenment. Realize enlightenment. You don't go someplace. You realize the nature, the absolute nature, the Dhammakaya. Then you realize the seed potential, your Buddha nature, which is always present. We should never forget that. Cannot be taken away, just like your merit cannot be taken away or given to you. You accumulate that merit based on your actions, your intention, your motivation, and your actions, your sincere practice. And then also your karma, that is accumulated by you over lifetimes and cannot be removed by any teacher, no matter how high they are. You must purify your own karma, your own mistakes. You have to fix them. Other people can't fix your mistakes for you. So it's an active practice, taking responsibility for oneself. And then in the Bodhisattva path, taking responsibility to benefit all sentient beings before yourself. Yes, you must take care of the human body, you must take care of yourself on the practical level, that's true. But when you see other sentient beings, other people, other animals, other living beings that are suffering, we should try our best to put them first and ourselves second. We don't want to, as Chabje Dujam Lengpa Rinpoche said, we don't want to wait until the last moment to practice Dharma. That would be too late. We practice Dharma as though our house was on fire. That's a very graphic image. But what Chabje Dujam Lengpa Rinpoche was trying to say about that was, practice as though your house is on fire means take action now. While you have this precious human rebirth and while you have the time, then you want to practice now, not later. Oh, yeah, I'll get to it. No, this is not like a household project. You can get to it when you feel like it. You might not be there. There's no guarantee between the in-breath and the out-breath that you won't stop breathing. So that's not to be morbid or make you afraid, but we must try to use every moment, every precious moment to its fullest potential. We're practicing over lifetimes to realize our absolute nature, the Dhammakaya, the Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha. Because that is our nature. It's not external or fabricated or something that's going to give to us. Even the highest master cannot give you that Tathagata Garbha or Dhammakaya. That has to be realized. Now, when we are talking about refuge, okay, a little bit, we talk about refuge. The three levels of refuge are outer and inner and secret refuge. Now, what do I mean by that? When we do our external refuge, and then that's body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. So we have the pecha, we have the chertan, or picture of chertan, or picture of Buddha, and then body would be the chertan, or relic holder. We don't have to actually have relic of Buddha in there. We can have relic of our teacher, or some highly realized master that we respect. If we could have that relic, even one, or even picture of that teacher is good enough. Or picture of the Buddha is good enough. That's the body. Then speech, that's the text. So we could have Prajna Paramita, we could have Heart Sutra or Diamond Sutra. We could have any important text, either about wisdom or compassion or emptiness, shunyata, like Prajna Paramita or Heart Sutra or Diamond Sutra. And then those three we could have, or others. Doesn't have to be those three. So that is external refuge. That's where we begin. We begin to transform externally. And then internal refuge, we have Lama Idam Khandro. Lama is our teacher, of course. Whoever that is, whatever lineage they come from, whatever tradition they come from, doesn't matter. Any of the three yanas, Theravada, Mahayana, or Vajrayana, Sutrayana, Mantrayana, or Zopa Chenpo. And then Lama Yidam, okay, that is your personal deity, your personal practice, which your Savi Lama or your Guru, your main teacher, will give to you because he understands that that is the one you are connected with. But you could have more than one. And then you have Khandro. Now this is a misunderstanding that some people make. They think that Khandro is ordinary sentient beings, ordinary women, or ordinary ladies. That's Bumo. That's not Khandro. Khandro is the Khandroma means she flies in the sky. And so, of course, some people might say, oh no, that's not possible. Okay, in their mind, that's not possible, but that is possible. It's up to your belief. Whatever you see or you believe, that can become true. It doesn't matter if other people don't see or believe. It doesn't mean you're deluded. If you see something that somebody else doesn't see, you might be realizing it at a different level. I don't want to say higher or lower. That's wrong. You're realizing it at your own level, where you're at, right at that moment. So, the Khandro, I do Machik Chud. So Machik Labdron is my Khandro. But so is Sengye Chenma, a lion-headed goddess. And so is other so is the others Khandroma, type of Khandroma. So there is external support for some Rinpoche, and they have permission from their teacher, their master, to have that external support, and that Khandroma is physical support, and that is equal to them at same level of spiritual practice as they are. They're not not ordinary. You meet the Kandroma or the Sayum or the consort of the teacher. That is the same as meeting the teacher, has the same blessing, can also give you same teachings. Otherwise, they wouldn't be together. This is not ordinary union we're talking about. We're talking about the practice union without attachment between the Kandroma, who's trained all her life to be Kandroma, and lifetimes also she has trained. She is no different from Rinpoche, but she still will receive training from very young age. That is her role, to serve as spiritual support to the Rinpoche. But for monks, we have the three channels. We have the right channel, which is the white substance, and then we have the left channel, which is the red substance, and then we have the middle channel, which is the union. So therefore we don't need external support, physical support. We have those three channels, and then there's special practices of winds and drops that we can do. If you have received those teachings, and then you can do that. If you haven't received those teachings, and let's say, for example, you would do the 6 yogas of Naropa, you will have some perhaps serious obstacles due to misunderstanding, not having correct teachings, having not received the teachings, or understanding in the wrong way. But there are the faults of the 3 pots. The first pot is turned upside down, so nothing can go inside. Second is that pot has poison in it, so it's like milk and poison mixed together, and you can't drink it. And third pot is 4 pots, I'm sorry. So third pot is smashed or cracked, so nothing can stay inside. And then last one is already full. The pot is already full means you have so much of yourself and what you think you know, and then not possible to teach you because you're not available to receive that. Like the full pot, it's already full, you can't put anything else in there. So we don't want to have those four defaults of the pot, 4 faults of the pot. Then recently I was talking about the 8 worldly dharmas which are to be avoided. Then there are 4 things to determine whether that is real dharma. At first we get the faith because of the teachings, and then we have transformed our ordinary view to the absolute view of the teacher, and then we get the experience, and lastly we get the realization. So those are the 4 ways that we can know that, oh, okay. So if the teacher is not able to quote where that in the text that came from, then we might have some question. He got this realization through his practice, or he got this realization originally, of course, he should get it from the text. In the case of Pali tradition, there's the Tripitaka. And in the case of the Chan or Chinese tradition, there is the Agama. Then in the case of Zen tradition, we have Dogen Sensei, and he has the Shobogenzo. Shobogenzo, something like that, yes. And then of course, Bodhidharma has his text, and Wen-Nang has his text. Then each one of those have their text, just like we have Kajur and Tanjur. Within Tanjur, which is commentaries, and then all the great masters of all the traditions are there, giving commentary, interpretation, helping us to understand the Kanjur, which is the main text, which the root of that text is the Tripitaka, the Pali text. it would come through the Sanskrit. So for Tibetans, we got it from Sanskrit. From Theravada tradition, they got it from the Pali text. Pali text is original, and we didn't change anything when we get it from the Sanskrit. It's not better, it's not better, not worse. It's just a different, we have to bear in mind that those Theravada tradition are seniors, just as the Chinese tradition are also our seniors. How can I say this? Well, because Buddha gave the teachings in the southern school first, and then Mahayana tradition, and then Vajrayana tradition, we got teachings also last. So there was a time when there was a king of Tibet named Long Dharma, and then Long Dharma tried to destroy all of the Dharma in Tibet. So what had to happen was, in order to restore the tradition, and that's why we have this piping, this thread, this thick thread of blue. There were monks from China who came to Tibet to restore the tradition, the Gelong and Getsu Domba and Gelong Domba. Those are Samanera and Bhikkhu, novice and full ordination traditions had to be restored by senior monks from China, and they came to Tibet and they restored that. And then, of course, we had Princess Wangchen, who came and got married to one of the kings of Tibet, and she brought with her Jowa Rinpoche tradition, and we still have that today. And so therefore we have some long-standing beneficial mutual relationship with China. Now present conditions are different. We don't have that. Doing the opposite. Actions of China now is like King Long Dharma trying to wipe out. But I said something that surprised some Tibetans, and that is, the Dharma is not in the pecha. The Dharma is a living thing. Dharma is in your mind. When you pass the oral tradition, even if that pecha is burnt up or doesn't exist anymore, if you have that master who has studied and practiced and realized that pecha, then that's the same thing. So it could never be wiped out completely. So then there were statues that were melted down. Of course, there were monasteries that were destroyed, but that didn't wipe out the Dharma. Just the opposite. People became more faithful. They realized even more how precious that is. So in that case, that shouldn't stop us from practicing. If we face difficult situations, as we are now, this is the time that we must practice. This is the time that we see the Dharma alive in our experience, or we don't. We say, oh, a pandemic, oh my God, I'm suffering, and I'm watching people suffering. That doesn't mean that's not true. That is happening. That's at the relative level. But what can we see within this experience of pandemic? So we see interconnectedness, praticca samutpada, interconnectedness of all living things. We're all connected together across this earth. And then we see impermanence, right? The nature of all things is transitory, and therefore it is impermanent. Not going to last, From one moment to the next, everything changes. So the tighter we try to hold on to something as being substantial and solid, and then we suffer even more when we don't have it. It's lost or stolen or destroyed. And then if we have so much attachment to that, we'll deeply suffer. But that's our choice. We don't have to have that. Attachment causes suffering, always. No matter what it is. The ultimate goal of the teacher is not that you will be dependent on them for the rest of your life. Suppose teacher is no longer there. In that case, what would you do? You would be saying, oh, precious teacher is not there. Now what? Well, hopefully you're practicing sincerely what the teacher has taught you. That's the best way to honor that teacher. That is the best way we can honor our teachers. All the lineage master, all the way back to the Buddha, we honor them by practicing. Whatever level we're at, the best we can do. That's all we can do. And in that way, we practice what they taught us, and there's a continuous process. Teacher can become student can become teacher. Again, if we have attachment to these fixed concepts of teacher and student, and then teacher passes away, well, teacher will reincarnate and it will have to be student. Whoever was senior student of that teacher becomes teacher, designated to teach that young reincarnation. Doesn't change the level of realization, but of course that Yangtze, Rinpoche or Tulku has to be taught. Even if we have child prodigy, okay, we could use as an example child prodigy. They have that seed potential from their previous lifetime of knowing whatever it is they know. The child prodigy knows something perfectly. But they must study and practice. Whether it's a pianist or artist or whatever it is they are, that seed potential, like our Buddha nature, is there, but we still have to activate that. We still have to practice, and we still have to realize back to our old level again through sincere practice. And we have to have fully qualified teacher. Now, in Tibet, we had a traditional way of knowing. That is our Sawi Lama, our root Lama. How is that? When we heard the name of that teacher, and in that time, the hairs on our body would stand up. And when we saw the image, that's just hearing the name of the teacher. When we saw the image of that teacher, and then tears of joy would come to our eyes. And that happened to me, both things, with my Sawe Lama. So I know that that is just merely re-established connection with the teacher. Teacher before, and then teacher again. I had not only just within one tradition that experience, all the traditions I have studied, because I'm Rime, which means non-sectarian, and that means within Nima and Kagyu and Shakya and Gelu, all my old teachers, all the Rinpoches, the Vajra masters that I knew before, and I met them again as a reincarnation, then I had that experience of understanding. Mr. Baras, that just means you know from past, it not means Sawe. No, Mr. Baras, you're incorrect, sir. Sawe Lama means your root Lama, your primary teacher. So, Mr. Baras, that's not what we were discussing, but thank you for your input. Sawe doesn't mean past. We were talking about the word Yangtze, or Tulku, or Rinpoche. Those are means Nirmanakaya emanation. It means making a special promise from your previous life that you'll be reborn in whatever form, or whatever time, and whatever place is beneficial to all sentient beings. And then, of course, also necessary is to practice POA before you separate the consciousness from the human body and enter to the bardo. And within the bardo state, you would have to realize that all that appears is the manifestation of your mind. So whatever you would see, that's the manifestation of your mind. And I can quote Machik Labdran. There was a man who came and he tried to frighten the villagers. He said, "Oh, behind that rock, there's demon, there's ghost, there's spirit behind that rock. Look out over there. That terrible thing is there. Be afraid of that." And Machik Labdran very calmly and clearly said, whatever appears, that is manifestation of your mind. And you can cut through the ignorance and realize the absolute nature. Her teacher was Padma Sanji. And then Machik Labdran defeated so many male teachers in the logical debate because she realized what was already there. She didn't need to fabricate anything, and it wasn't based on intellectual understanding as some of her debate opponents were. But the purpose of debate, unlike Western philosophical debate, which dates back to Plato, within Tibetan debate, and there's no winner and there's no loser. And usually we will put arm around each other's shoulder and go have some chai together. And we don't think in terms of winner and loser. Both people are winners because you posit your position, your point. You don't posit something is not true. You posit something which is true. So both persons within the Buddhist debate learn something. It's not the winner-loser, my team and your team. Again, there would be separations occurring within the mind. Mine, yours, and then them and those. I, me, mine. That's the source of all suffering for self and others. As long as we start from that point, and then what would happen? Unfortunately, we would have ignorance due to the strong ego grasping at this so-called solid, substantial self, the me, the I, me, mine. And then, of course, there would be others, and my idea and your idea, and this is mine and that's yours, and I and you. And then as soon as you make those separations, then you have conflict, you have disturbance, you have combat, you have conflict, you have war, you have destruction. All because starting with this grasping, strong ego grasping at the self, which doesn't exist. You show me where that is. Is it outside the body or inside the body? This is meditation which the Buddha did. Is it within the body? Then where is it? Is it within the bones, the muscle, the sinew, the blood, the organs? And then he went step by step. Within the skin, hairs, is it there, that self? Is it outside the body or inside the body? And then he went through the 5 skandhas: form, feeling, sensation, perception, mental formation. Okay, so if it's not there, it's not outside the body, it's not inside the body, then okay, let's take example here. Very serious example. At the moment when the consciousness separates from the human body doesn't go someplace. Human body is like change clothes. You are going to leave that. Or you grow up, you get new clothes. You leave behind those clothes from when you're a baby, or even when you're a little kid. You don't keep those when you're an adult. You have no use for them. It's time to move on. So in that case, at certain points, separation occurs between the consciousness and the form. And that means what's going to happen? Your consciousness is the essence of all that you have realized, all of your karma and all of your merit. All that travels with you. Whatever is of the physical form is temporary, is transient. The nature of all phenomena is transitory and therefore impermanent. And if you have attachment to those things which are impermanent, you definitely experience suffering. Attachment causes suffering always. So, lastly, I would like to say that even if we cannot physically benefit all sentient beings, if we can just form that wish, just form the wish and say the words, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings be happy and never separated from the source of happiness. Now that is from the Theravada tradition. That's part of the metta bhavana, or metta, or loving kindness, compassion, loving kindness meditation. They radiate. You sit and you radiate loving kindness to all beings in all directions. Metta bhavana. And there's also karuna. Karuna is from the Theravada tradition, and that means compassion. So we could only compare that to Janchusen or bodhicitta, which is special kind of compassion. And at the time when we are generating bodhicitta, mental attitude, we would reflect on all the kindness, all the mercy, all the compassion, all the understanding, all the acceptance, all the love that we have received, not just from one person, not just close ones, like family or relatives or friends, even casual people who did something nice, even little thing, then we could reflect on those people and try to generate the attitude, the mental attitude of bodhicitta, loving kindness towards all beings. And that is how we can honor those people who have given all those things to us, all mother sentient beings, through countless lifetimes, who have given us compassion, who have given us love, who have given us kindness and acceptance and mercy and forgiveness. Forgiveness can be very powerful. It is through the attachment to the situation, and we are unable to forgive only because of that attachment. And of course, if we can't forgive, it becomes like a poison. It will never bring us one moment of peace or happiness if we can't forgive. We can let go. We can let go of that experience and let it be. There is a practice in the Theravada school where we just focus on the breath first, and that is shamatha. And we have that also in the Tibetan tradition. Tuku Pema Wanjal talked about that with me, and which he received that teaching from Chadje Trushik Rinpoche, who gave me my Gelon Dompa. So I was extremely fortunate because I very strong heart connection with the Rimei tradition, non-sectarian. And then therefore, when we say, this is a bad thing that someone said about me, that is like, or this is good thing. If we are a teacher and we are lifted up by compliments and gifts and praise, then our mind is disturbed. If we think we are somebody special, we have the right to sit there on that throne like a king, and those others below us are those servants, the little people in our life, and that's why we're up there. That's why we do the 3 prostrations to the throne before we sit there. We cut through any remaining idea of attachment to ego grasping, to that solid, substantial self, that important me, I, me, mine. We cut through that by prostrating to the seat. Because when we sit in that seat, we'll be representing the deity, the Buddha or the Bodhisattva or Daka or Dakini or Yidam, or Dharma protector. So in that case, we wouldn't sit there as ordinary sentient beings. We would try to manifest the qualities of the empowerment deity which we are giving. So the transformation, self-empowerment has to take place. That happens before the students come into the room, usually. That's been my experience. Or, doesn't matter, maybe no time for doing that self-empowerment before students comes in. So you have to do in the midst of all that chaos, not very easy. You need concentration and contemplation, reflection and meditation in order to do the self-empowerment. And then if we're going to give empowerment, we should have fulfilled the commitment of the practice, and we should have done retreat in order to do that. Or if we're not able to do that, and then each time we recite the sadhana, that can be nundro, means each time we do the practice sadhana or text, reading of the text and doing the mudra or whatever it is, recite the mantra, and then we have refuge, bodhicitta, bodhisattva, and guru yoga, and dedication of merit, and mandala, and request the teachers not to pass into nirvana, but to continue to turn the wheel of the Dharma. And then lastly, we have long life for the pairs, for teachers of all lineages, dating all the way back to the Buddha. Not just our tradition, our lineage. Again, that is attachment. And what does it do? Cause suffering, always. Attachment causes suffering. So, our teachers doesn't want us to say something like, I belong to Drikang Kaju, and therefore I cannot do some practice designated as a Rupa Kaju, or Karma Kaju cannot do Drikang Kaju. Oh, no, that's not true. If we have such a limited perspective, then that is like, I'm staying inside my box, and therefore I don't go inside your box, and I can't come over there, and you can't come over here. That's a very limited perspective, which of course means we don't expand, we just stay static. We want to constantly expand our mind, make it more spacious, and relax into the natural state of our mind, the Tathagata Garbha, or the Dharmakaya, the Buddha mind, which can occur at any moment. At certain point, you realize the Buddha mind by relaxing into the essence, free expanse essence. So I like to think of compassion and wisdom like this. For the wisdom, it's radiating, it's clarifying, it's purifying. It's like the sun. And for compassion, it's cooling, it's calming, it's able to provide light but not heat. So therefore, it's illuminating. And ultimately, there's no separation between wisdom and compassion. You have one taste. That's in the later practice. You have Te Chirin To Jiao, ground, fruit, and path. And that's one level of practice. which I won't discuss. I won't go into detail because I'm not permitted to do that. You haven't required me to do that, and I haven't realized that the Mahamudra teachings I've received, or the Zopa Shenpo teachings I have received. I do practice, but I cannot say I have any realization. As a matter of fact, I would say any qualities which you might think I have always come from the practice of Guru Yoga. Without Guru Yoga, you can go through the motions, but the real blessing, just like rain falls naturally from the sky in springtime, causes the flowers and the fruits and the vegetables to come out. Therefore, this Guru Yoga is like that. It's a natural experience. You're getting blessing because you're visualizing above the crown of your head the Guru in the form not separate from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Dakas and Dakinis, Yidam and Dharma protector. So that is Guru Yoga. And it is very important for realizing the blessing. Through Guru Yoga, even though teacher is not there anymore, teacher is always there. In that state of Guru Yoga, there's no separation. Of course, ultimately you will visualize yourself as the deity after you've received the empowerment, but even I didn't do that right away. I took many years on particular practices before I visualized myself. I didn't want it to be fabricated. I want to really transform my mind and my perspective of I want to transform my mind and my perspective of what's really occurring, not fabricate. We don't want that. When we are in the natural state, there's no fabrication. We are just realizing the essence, the true nature, the Buddha mind, the Dhammakaya, Tathagata Garbha, that's always present. Much as when we do prostration, there's no external thing that we are prostrating to. We are actualizing our Buddha nature by prostrations. We are cutting through, much like in the practice of Chi. We cut through the ego, the very strong ego grasping. In the practice of Chi, and then we would make a visualization, and we would cut through by offering this very precious human rebirth, physical form, according to what instructions we have received, Shije Chud or Machik Chud, or whatever tradition of Chud we practice. And then we would use Damaru and bell, and also we might use Purba, as in the practice of the Dorji Purba, which is my Yidam. Then we do as we are instructed to do. And it doesn't mean that others doesn't get realization from their practice. Again, that would be attachment. Any form of attachment causes suffering for ourselves and for others. That is like if you constantly say, my neighbor has a fence, therefore I cannot cross over. No, you reach across that, you talk across that fence, and you reach across that fence, and sometimes you cross over to your neighbor's house and meet them and have a good time and enjoy together. There's always common ground. We should never say, oh, that tradition is less than mine. That teacher is not my teacher. We should honor all teachers of all traditions and all lineages, all the way back to the Buddha. If we ever said something terribly negative out of ignorance about another teacher, another tradition, another lineage, then that is accumulate heavy negative karma for ourselves. And then, of course, we would make those people who are practicing another lineage or another tradition or following another teacher very unhappy. And that's not the purpose of practicing Dharma. We want to benefit countless sentient beings. We recite may I be able to empty out the ocean of samsara from every form of suffering until there's no more suffering anymore. I will return again and again until there's no more suffering in the 6 realms, no more suffering for the 6 classes of sentient beings, traveling sentient beings. So as long as there's suffering, and that means we should come back, we are following the Bodhisattva path, so we will return back. And yes, samsara is filled with suffering. No matter which level we are at, from the heights to the lowest level of samsara, there's suffering. So we are making a promise to come back and to endure that for the purpose of benefiting all sentient beings. That's the core of the Bodhisattva vow. We're not taking this Bodhisattva vow for status. I hope not. Otherwise it's wasted. So before I was saying that compliments and insults is like invisible pearl. We're wearing invisible pearl around our neck, invisible pearl necklace or invisible pearl mala, so that every time we receive insult, that's one invisible pearl, and then every time we receive compliments or praise or gifts, and that's another invisible pearl. And both of those would be equal, not separate. We don't get excited when we receive gift and praise, and oh, you're such great Lama, you're such great Tuku or Rinpoche, great teacher, great master. Then if we felt like that, that's really disservice, both to our teachers and to our students. Hopefully what we would feel is that what an honor that I get to honor my teacher by living the lineage and passing on the teachings when I have permission. Now in my case, the reason why I'm able to offer Bodhisattva vows, there should be a unbroken lineage, extremely important within the Vajrayana tradition. So my unbroken lineage is this: August 30th, 1996, at Pasadena, from His Holiness Dalai Lama, the Nirmanakaya emanation of Chenrezig, I received the Bodhisattva vows. And I've kept them purely, and I also have, even if I thought I made minor mistake, I have made confession, Bodhisattva vow confession ceremony. Even when I didn't think I made a mistake, I still did it. Then again, I received Bodhisattva vows from the Kasarpani Chenrezig emanation, which is His Holiness Shabdram Jimi Nawan Namgyal Rinpoche of Bhutan, Jurkyu. So we have Holiness Dalai Lama, who is Chenrezig Nirmanakaya emanation, and there's no doubt in my mind about that from personal experience. And then of course we have Nirmanakaya Chenrezig, Kasarpani Chenrezig emanation, His Holiness Shabdram Jimi Nawan Namgyal Rinpoche, and there's also no doubt there because of personal experience. So if I say that, that doesn't mean I'm better and others less. That means that, okay, I had that experience. Just like when I received blessing from the Kandruma of Dögo Chensi Rinpoche, and I received the blessing of the Kandruma of Shabdram Rinpoche, I received the blessing of the Kandruma of Jamyang Chensi Choke Lodro Rinpoche, I received the blessing of the Kandruma of Dodrip Chen Rinpoche. So in that case, there's no difference between those blessings that I got from those Kandruma of those Rinpoches and the Rinpoche himself. I could easily receive those teachings, same. Those teachings which I received from Rinpoche, if he's not there, I could easily have received from Kandruma. Why is that? Because Kandruma is equal in every way, in every respect, in every aspect to the Rinpoche. Otherwise she is not Kandruma. She would be ordinary sentient beings. She would be ordinary bomo, or ladies, just ordinary ladies. We should never have that view about the Khandroma or Sayun. They are equal in every way to the Rinpoche or the teacher. Otherwise, they will not be Khandroma. They'll be something else. So our Samaya should be same for Khandroma or Sayun as it is for Rinpoche, because they are practicing together, not at different levels, but at same level. And then also I have received teaching from Choditrukuru Rinpoche's Khandroma, and that's equal experience. Blessing is equal. So I had that wonderful experience with all these Khandroma, and I didn't have any kind of different or other feelings, that less feeling. No, actually it was equally as powerful to receive blessing from those Khandromas that I have mentioned, that it was equal to the Rinpoche. Not different, no separations. Separations occurs in the mind, just like limitations of bodhicitta can occur only in the mind. If you think there is some kind of separations happening, then you should check again your mind. Check to see is it real or not. So, as I was explaining before, one of my favorite quotes is from Machik Lobdron. Then there was this man who was trying to frighten the villagers, and he said, "Oh, look behind that rock, there's demon, a ghost spirit, and they're going to harm you. And you should be afraid and run away." And he was trying to collect money from those frightened people because he claimed that he could do ceremony. So Machik Lobdron came to that place, and she's a yogini, realized fully yogini, and she's also Khandroma. So then in that case, she said to that man, "Whatever you saying, whatever you experiencing is a manifestation of your own mind. No such things as gods and demons. So then that is your mind only moving, that is your mind only action, that is just experience, just moving mind. So there's no gods and there's also no demons behind that rock." You shouldn't say like that, because you are frightening people and get negative karma, very heavy negative karma, because you're causing suffering. So then he ran away because he was afraid. But then again, that is his missed opportunity to have received teaching from Machik Lobdron. So in my case, I practice both Machikche and Shije, which is from Kham, Eastern Tibet. In Eastern Tibet, that the previous incarnation of mine came from. And when I was a little boy, my father told me, and I remember very clearly, he said, "There's 3 Tepkang, which is special. There is the border of China Tepkang, which is what's the name of that place? It is one. And then second was the Pottada Tepkang, and then most famous was the Tepkang in the king of Kham, Dege. And why he was so famous? He paid the people who produced the pecha in gold from his own treasury. So my father always said to me when I was a little boy in previous incarnation, he said, "That's just why that he knew gift of the Dharma exceeds all others, more precious than gold. So giving away gold to pay these people to make pecha is equal. I'm not losing anything." So in that case, his treasury of gold was never exhausted. That's what my father told me. So, true or not, you decide. But he was a very famous king, Namgyal of Kham, Dege, Buddhist kingdom of Kham, when there was separation of different kingdoms. So, with what's depending on our receiving or not receiving blessing, our experience or not experience blessing, is our mind. Are we transformed enough to experience what's there, already present? Are we trying to fabricate something and create something and make it happen? Not going to happen. And so in that case, we realize the absolute nature of Dhammakaya, and at that level, everything that is already present, you see. You won't see something that is not there. You will see something that has always been there. But perhaps not everyone is seeing that. But that's okay. We can only be where we are at that moment in our practice. It doesn't mean more developed or less developed. There are some people who are intellectual of the Dharma. That's great. They can recite text word for word, line by line, memorized. But at the ultimate level, we don't keep Dharma in our brain. We keep Dharma in our practice, in our heart. Transform our mind and open up our heart. And that's the true sign of the Dharma practicer. And they get the blessing from doing like that. If we just keep Dharma in the mind, and then Dharma also on the tongue, now that's not blessing. That's just action. Mechanical, going through the motions. We should be able to see if that teacher thinks in terms of higher and lower, mine and yours, I and you, and they think that they want to receive lots of blessing, lots of gifts and praise and titles. I don't want to be around that Lama, for sure. But in the case of the really precious teacher, usually very humble and giving prostrations to the seat, and would be able to tell that whether that is famous Lama or not famous Lama. Many students are only small, 2 or 3 students, and then you will see by the sign that very humble attitude and not thinking in terms of receiving blessings. If they receive blessing, means praises or gifts or compliments, they don't get excited. And if they receive insults or somebody try to damage their good name or to say something wrong about them, and then they don't have bad feeling also, they don't get upset. It's not disturbing their mind either way. That's the fully realized master. No higher, no lower, no you, no me, as it says in the Heart Sutra. No I, no you, no sensation, no loss of sensation, no perception, no loss of perception. And then shunyata. So that is absolute understanding, and that doesn't mean that relative understanding is wrong or less. It's where the person is, and that we have to give teaching according to that person where they are, level, and by answering questions, and you should know what teaching to give to them at their level. So hopefully within the span of our teaching time, we will address at different levels, different understandings. In case of highly realized master, they could see the mind of the student and give appropriate teaching, like the Buddha did. I've met teachers like that. Then that's one level. But in other cases, we must try to give both profound teaching for those appropriate students, and then we should also give teaching on the relative level for that students starting where they are on the relative level of understanding. That doesn't mean that we are giving lower and higher teachings. Again, there's no separations. Separations occurring in the mind. No real separations at all. We are giving more expansive teaching. Then mind is more expansive, more spacious, and heart is more open. So there's a famous saying by the Zen master. His name is Dogen Sensei. He said, "Body like the mountain, mind like the sky, heart like the ocean." Now, I think all those who are sincere practitioners can understand that. You don't have to be practicing Zen to understand what he meant by that. So what is meaning? I can tell you that what Kalka Jetsun Namba told to me, basically same thing. He said, if you chase after the past, and then you don't have stability in your practice, you'd be like chasing hungry ghost. And you would also become hungry ghost, chasing after past. That's gone. And then if you are chasing after golden Zo of the future, and you'll never catch that. Of course, there might be golden Zo, but you won't get that because it's going too fast and it's gone already. You can't predict where it might show up. So, if you're in the present moment, Kalka Jetsun Damba Rinpoche said of the Jonang school of Satya lineage, and then present moment is like the Garuda flying over your head, the natural expansive freedom. So, why am I saying this? Because that's to explain that we don't want to be chasing after the past, and we'll be ghost. We'll be chasing after past, which is gone already. We don't have to go after that golden Zo or golden cow or whatever it is, golden ring of the future. We won't get that because impossible to predict where it might show up, where it might be at any given time, that we don't know, and we'll never catch it. It's the future. So if we are sitting in the present moment, and that means mind like the Garuda flying in the sky, means expansive and spacious, and just relaxing into the absolute essence, the Dharmakaya or the Dharma Dhatu, or the Tathagata Garbha Bodhi mind, Buddha mind, Bodhi mind or Buddha mind, and that is the natural state, what we originally had or have, and that's always there, just like your karma and your merit. Nobody's going to give you merit, you have to accumulate it. No one's going to remove your karma, you have to purify it. So if you ever met some very highly realized master, but they won't say to you, I can take your karma away. That's never going to happen because it's impossible. You took lifetimes to accumulate your karma, so who is going to remove that? Not even the Buddha himself cannot with his hand swipe away that karma of yours. But he gave instruction how to purify, just like all the lineage masters, Jetsun Kaba, Jetsun Milarepa, and then Sache Kunga Ningpo, and then Pema Lingpa, Rigzin Lingpa, then we have so many precious teachers within all traditions. Within the Lander tradition, we have precious masters. all of whom give the core essence teaching the same. So when we realize one truth, then we realize all the truth. So it seems like when we see sun and moon in the sky, okay, you're on your side of the world and you see moon. I'm on my side of the world and I see sun. But actually both are in the sky at the same time. So, which is true and which is false? Is it my side, I don't see moon, so therefore no moon is existing? No, that's not true. And other side, they don't see sun, they see moon. That means sun is not existing? No. Both existing in the sky at the same time. Due to our perspective, we don't see that. Both are true. No winner and no loser. The both are true. From the perspective, that's the key. So, when we have wisdom, we have compassion. We realize shunyata, and then we realize bodhicitta. We have bodhicitta, and we realize shunyata. Both at the same time, not one without the other. No sun without moon, no moon without sun. They must both exist in equal measure at the same time. Otherwise, if, for example, if we only had sun, we'd all burn up. Then if we only had moon, we'd all freeze to death. So then we need both, wisdom and compassion, in equal balance. Actually, no separation. At the ultimate level, there's only one taste. Then there's no separations. Separations is occurring in the mind. The more expansive, the more spacious, the more free, the more relaxed into the natural state your mind is, and then you would naturally realize bodhicitta and shunyata at the same time. Why I don't use the term emptiness? Because some people think that emptiness is like nothingness, nothing void, nothing there. No, it's very expansive, it's boundless, just like compassion. So that is brief, extremely brief, from the Tekchud and Tojiao, the ground, the fruit and the path teachings, and then if someone understood that, and they could further discuss with someone like Kenshin Sultan Jamso, who I received some brief instructions. His Holiness Karmapa gave me some brief instructions on Mahamudra, and then I went to his teacher. He instructed me to go to, and I received that. And then I also have received those teachings from His Holiness Dalai Lama. And from my Sawai Lama, I also received the Tekchud and Tojiao ground fruit path. But for me, there's no difference. The difference is occurring in the mind. There isn't one shunyata over here, one Zoba Chenpo over there. That's not possible. That's all one taste, all one experience. There's no special kind of bodhicitta over here. If we say the words metta karuna, that is in Pali. Is that less than bodhicitta or more than bodhicitta? Which one is which? Both same. Just different way of expressing, different way of practicing, different way of understanding at their own level, according to the understanding, the mind, and then the perception will occur, and then the practice will be accordingly. Intention and motivation is the key, along with karma and merit, to determine the outcome, the ultimate outcome. But bear in mind, you're not practicing just for one lifetime. You're practicing for lifetime, countless lifetimes, countless eons even. For in the case of the Buddha, he didn't just wake up and become Buddha automatically. No, he made 12 special miraculous things during his lifetimes, and that we have 12 stupas to represent those miraculous events. So then, in closing, I want to dedicate the merit, because that is the seal of the Dharma, and we do that after teaching. We also request those precious teachers of all the lineage masters, of all traditions and all schools, all teachers, dating all the way back to the Buddha, that they please not pass into nirvana, but they remain to turn the wheel of the Dharma. So, please, let's dedicate the merit together. Gyewa dine nede da pende lama drujene doa chicham malupa dei sala kopa sho. So, by the virtue of this merit, may all sentient beings be coming to realize the level of Bodhisattva. And may all the sentient beings in the 6 realms, 6 classes of sentient beings, be freed from all forms of suffering. So, let's pray together. We pray that all the teachers of all the lineages, all the way back to the Buddha, all the traditions, all the teachers, they not pass into nirvana, but that they remain to turn the wheel of the Dharma. And then lastly, we offer the mandala and then long life prayers for all the teachers of all the lineage. So we do the mandala offering now. Yewa dine nede da pende lama drujene droa chicham malupa dei sala koba shos. Idam guru ratna mandala kamniyataya me. I send out the mandala of the universe to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 times and 10 directions, and to all the Dakas and Dakinis and Idam and Dharma protectors, and that they receive the mandala offering. Whatever can be imagined, can be visualized in the mind, whatever precious things that are pleasing to those. We do this not they physically receive, that we are not doing that for that purpose. We are doing to generate merit, so that we can generate enough merit to free all sentient beings from all forms of suffering in all the realms, in all the 6 classes of beings, in the 6 realms. May they all be free. May the ocean of samsara be emptied out of all suffering. Okay. Gangri Ravi Shinkam Dir Chendri Sivong Tenzan Gyatso Yi. We pray that holiness, the Nirmanakaya emanation of Chenresi remain just as Mount Meru, and not depart from us, and if we continue to remain many hundreds of years into future to guide us, and as the Buddha did, as all the lineage masters do of all the traditions, we pray that they will not leave this plane of existence, and they will continue to turn the wheel of the Dharma and be blessed with a long life. Om Amitewari, Om Amitewari, Om Amitewari, Om Amitewari, Om Amitewari. Okay. So I thank all of you for watching, and then I see there's at least 2 Rinpoches here. I think I'm not matching up to what realization you have, because I don't have any. I don't have any qualities. I have only the qualities that you might see or might think I have. This comes from Guru Yoga, always. And then all I can do is try to recall and express in a meaningful way something that might be beneficial to all sentient beings. And whatever level of understanding they are, I hope I'm able to benefit them all. As numerous as the stars in the sky, may I benefit that many of sentient beings. As numerous as there are atoms in the universe, may I multiply my form to every realm, to every sentient being, and relieve them from all forms of suffering. So, of course, I don't believe I can do that. I can aspire to do that. Okay, we are finished now. We have closed with the dedication of merit, which is the Dharma seal. And to all our brothers and sisters around the world, I hope that we are able to transform this experience and realize the Dharma in every experience, including this pandemic. What is the Dharma in this pandemic? Well, we have Pratitya Samuppada, interconnected nature of all living beings. And then what we also have is impermanence. The nature of all things is transitory and therefore impermanent. If we attach to those transitory things or experiences, and then you will experience suffering accordingly. And then next, we have interconnectedness, we have impermanence, and then we have precious human rebirth, because there's no guarantee which kind of rebirth we will have in our next life. And we have to use this precious human rebirth as a great opportunity to realize the teachings and benefit all sentient beings until there's no more suffering in this samsara. So, this is not just suffering experience. This pandemic is actually Dharma experience. And if we could see the Dharma in this experience and in all our experiences as they spontaneously arise, and then we would be able to progress on the path. And that is my wish and my prayer for all of you. And you are a wonderful practitioner, good practicer, can become better practicer, a good teacher can become great teacher. It doesn't mean ego, it just means always try to be expansive. And my little mind is at this level, and then if I can expand more and more and more, I can relax into the Dharmakaya, Dharmadhatu, realize Tathagata Garbha, or Buddha mind, and that would be quite wonderful, quite beneficial to all beings. And then if I could keep the mental attitude of bodhicitta in all circumstance and benefit countless sentient beings, and then I would come back again and again until there's no more suffering in this samsara, 6 realms and 6 classes of beings. Okay. Thank you. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum. That is the mantra from Rigsen Godam Terma, Northern Treasure. Om Mani Padme Hum Shri. So at the point at which we are visualizing that tree, and that means it's kind coming from the nature of the mind of shunyata, and then manifesting as generosity. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And then, of course, the 15th day of the lunar month, Amitabha Day, I will give live Bodhisattva teachings. And then the 30th day of the lunar month, Sakyamuni Day, I'll give live Bodhisattva teachings, Bodhisattva Vows. And then you should request from your teacher that if you have made mistake or you think you have damaged somehow, this Bodhisattva vow can be repaired. So don't lose hope. Always stay stronger and be determined. Be resolute and steadfast in your goal to benefit all sentient beings. Never feel afraid or hopeless or lost, because every experience, the Dharma is spontaneously arising out of each experience. If we can just see that Dharma and not think in terms of the relative level, but the absolute level. Okay, thank you.